Hello, my loves. Okay, I promise this is not going to be another 45-minute long video. Today's video is going to focus on some other fun findings from today, very briefly, and then I'm going to update you on some weird things that may have fallen into my lap. So, today I found or saw another piece like yesterday's piece that I was talking about that had the stitching in it and some of the lint and some of the like leftover hay. It was a very similar piece motif-wise. It was actually the full piece. It clearly had been sewn and also had evidence of like lint. There were two other pieces like it that also had sewing, but the sewing looked very different. It looked like maybe it was either mounted to another fabric at some point for display, for putting up in your house, for keeping it safe, or it was stitched as a patch onto something, I think. One of those two things. These stitches and what the backs looked like were different than one from today and one from yesterday. So, again, no conclusions. Some interesting leads, and there are some people that I'm going to be reaching out to about those particular motifs to see if they have a special significance, may have had some kind of practical application, day-to-day life, or even like in the home. So more research will be coming from there. So that was exciting. I finally finished all of the Indian subcontinent textiles. I'm not going to go through them all today, but we're on day 4. And it took me 4 days minus 2 or 3 textiles that I can think of that were just random other things that happened to be in the pile. I started on an ancient Egyptian one that dated to the 2nd century CE, Common Era, or AD, as many people used to refer to it as. And it was pretty cool because it looked a lot like one that I had seen at LACMA, except for the one at LACMA was in much worse condition, so I actually did not feel comfortable putting my microscope on it. So I couldn't see the things up close on the LACMA one that I have been able to see up close on this one. And I just started, I did about a half hour of work on it. I actually called the head curator over and I was like, hey, you want to see something cool? So I asked her, I said, what colors do you see? And she listed off 3 or 4 colors, which were the same colors that I saw. And I said, you want to see some other colors? And she said, sure. So I put the microscope on and you can see all these other beautiful colors that were probably quite vibrant, that just had small little residue remains. And you get this sense of like what this textile looked like at one point. So I might talk about that a little bit more once I do some more research on it tomorrow. I didn't have very much time, but I am officially done, I think. Oh, minus 2 huge ones. There is one that is a 3-panel tent panel from the Mughal dynasty that is like the paragon of this type of thing. I will see that on Monday in a completely different room. And then there's another one called the Reynolds coverlet, which I think is dated to the 16th or 17th century as well. And it was a big old, huge wall hanging, and it's too big, too unwieldy for this room. So those are the only 2 Indian textiles that I have left. And I'll spend quite a bit of time on them on Monday, I believe, is when we're doing that. So the thing that I referred to on Facebook was a weird email that I wasn't expecting. I have been emailing back and forth or trying to connect with somebody and then emailing back and forth with the Met in New York for 2 years, just under 2 years. I mentioned on Facebook that I heard back from them in November, December, and they had officially approved me to come there and do some studying. And then it was a matter of negotiating, okay, which pieces am I going to look at? When am I going to come? What are the conditions under which it will happen? And this is like a song and dance that I go through with every single museum. So I heard from them in December, and then I sent them a message back with like, here's my full list. Here's every single possible textile I'd love to see. If there are some that are not available, or if there are some that just are too difficult, we can rule some out. So they sent me some lists back. However, let me rewind. They didn't send me anything in the month of January. So I was like, okay, I haven't heard back from the Met. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be part of this big East Coast trip. So I knew I was approved. I knew at some point in 2022 I was going to go see them. And I think I mentioned in the vlog from day 1 or 1 through 3 or whatever, that when the thing fell through with the Brooklyn Museum, because I was up with my mom and my family, I'm like, oh, well, at some point in the future, I'll go up to the Met and then I'll also maybe combine in this Brooklyn trip. Well, I did have a brief conversation with the Brooklyn Museum people about whether or not I could go to them on the week immediately following the week that I would be done here in Rhode Island. And we just had a brief conversation, and they said they couldn't do it Monday the 21st of February because I think that's President's Day and they're closed. But they could possibly accommodate me on the 22nd and the 23rd. And I think I referred to this in one of my previous vlogs where I was like, I don't know if I want to do it. And so I had made the decision, actually a couple days ago, that I was going to wait. I'll do the Brooklyn Museum with the Met. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm ready to go home. And it's just will work out better, I was thinking. So the very first week that I was in Washington, D.C., so after the week I should have been in Brooklyn, I get an email back from the Met. And they said, okay, here are the lists of things that we can make available to you. We're going to ask you to prioritize like your top 10 in each one of these departments and we can figure out how to coordinate all that because I asked for a lot. Excuse me. And they said, let us know and get back with us. And I think that was actually Monday of this week or Friday of last week. And so I responded to them Monday of this week. Okay, I'll try to get you some, or no, it was Friday of last week because I said, I'll try to get you something Monday or Tuesday. And then I realized yesterday that even though I had made the decision I wasn't going to go to the Brooklyn Museum, I hadn't let them know yet. So, because we were still like, are the logistics even possible? So I shot them an email back and I said, hey, this is yesterday. Hey, I don't think the logistics are going to work. I really appreciate it. At some point in the future, I am going to be going to the Met Museum. Hopefully we can try to coordinate something. Thank you very much. I'll be in touch. Well, today I get an email back from the Met. Oh, no, sorry. I'm out of order. So today I'm like, oh, yeah, I need to respond to the Met. I'm a couple days behind. Just want to touch base with them because, of course, I don't want them waiting on me. And I appreciate that they are doing all the work they're doing. So I said, hey, just want to let you know I really haven't had a chance to take a look at the lists yet, but I will do so as soon as possible. And I'll try to get you something or at least by the end of the weekend. And so the gal comes back to me and she says, oh, okay, well, just so you know, we need at least a week before you come to be able to pull all the things and prep for your visit. And then she said, are you still interested in February 24th and 25th? Those were two dates that those are 2 days from the dates you originally pitched to us that we actually have availability and can receive you. And I was like, I just got done telling the Brooklyn Museum that I couldn't do the 22nd and 23rd. 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th. So 2 days at the Brooklyn Museum, 2 days at the Met Museum. I would extend my leave by 1 more week if possible. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm like, this is my mom. She's like trying to make up with the Brooklyn trip and then also like throw the Met trip in. So I emailed the Met people back and I was like, I'm very sorry. I thought we were talking about later in the year because, and they knew it had been several weeks since we talked in December. And so I was like, I thought at this point we were talking sometime late in 2022. I'm supposed to go back to work on February 21st. However, let me reach out to my employer and see if it's possible to return 1 week later and then see if that can happen. And then I go back to the Brooklyn Museum people and said, so some logistics have possibly changed. Are the dates of the 22nd and 23rd still available? Now their answer was fair, which was like, we don't know. We kind of stopped that ball moving. Let us know for sure if you're committed to this week and then we can see. So the problem is I kind of need to know for sure if they can do it before I commit to staying in New York for a week and taking a whole nother week off of work. But I can't demand that from them. So I'm in this like weird quandary. On top of that, to be honest, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. My brain has not worked this hard in many years. I miss my family at this point. If I do return as previously scheduled, I would return 4 weeks. It'll be 4 weeks since I've at least seen Oliver. If I go on this New York trip, it's 5 weeks without Oliver. I did get to see Walter very briefly after Detroit when I came home that Saturday night and then left Sunday morning. So I at least got like to hug and kiss him. But basically, I also will have been without Walter for 5 weeks. I am still going through the grieving process, and it would be very nice, as I mentioned, to like be at home with family. But at the same time, these are amazing experiences, right? So I don't know what I'm going to do. I have emailed my bosses to see if it is a possibility to extend my leave for 1 more week and explain to them like the opportunities that kind of just fell into my lap unexpectedly for that week. I haven't heard back from them. If they say yes, I still don't know what I'm going to do. If they say no, that makes it real easy, right? But then I also have to figure out, because at this point, the grant funds, okay, I'm thinking out loud here. I am not soliciting your dollars. Please don't try to send me money. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, so like the grant money's run out. We can afford the trip. But then if we afford the trip, then I have to give up 2 other things. One of the things was a printed textile that was going on auction on February 22nd that Walter and I had already had a conversation. We made our budget, and I was like, I'm getting this thing, right? So at this point, it's, do I get the printed textile for my own personal collection, or do I go to New York? I could go to New York later in the year when monies are saved up and it's just more convenient, yada, yada, yada. So, and I did explain to my bosses, or request to my bosses, that if they do honor the additional leave request, the 4 weeks I've taken are all unpaid because we were in a position to do so. I would ask for PTO for that 5th week. So like, it's not putting us in a terrible position. It's just like I have to make some choices between some things. And then on top of that, I had applied for and interviewed for a spot to get mediation training in the state of Ohio through an organization that provides mediation services to the community for free. And I used to do this work when I lived in Michigan. I was a mediator for more than 10 years. I worked professionally as a mediator. I worked professionally as a mediator coordinator. I volunteered as a mediator. This is my first love. This is what my degree is in. This is what I wanted to be when I grew up, was an international mediator. So I have been trying since I got to Dayton. And because in the state of Indiana, you cannot be a mediator unless you're an attorney. In Michigan, you can be a mediator with special Supreme Court, State Court Administrative Office training. And in Ohio, you can be a mediator, but you have to go through special training as well. So as soon as I got to Ohio, I was like, yes, I can mediate again. So I actually interviewed. I went through this process. I've been waiting to hear an answer. I just got the acceptance letter today that I have been approved for this mediation training. And I already knew the dates, and Walter and I had already discussed it. So original plan was I leave Rhode Island February 18th or 19th. I get home somewhere on the 19th or 20th, that Saturday or Sunday. So that I get home that Saturday or Sunday. That Thursday night, I would start 4 hours of mediation training. That Saturday, I would have 8 hours of mediation training. And then the following weekend, I would have another 8 hours of mediation training, and then another 4 hours that following Thursday. So we knew it was a tight squish, but it was doable. Well, if I stay in New York, I have to give up the mediation training and the mediation volunteer opportunity. Now, that's a temporary thing. They do hold classes, workshops, whatever, approximately twice a year. With COVID, it might only be, they haven't had a training since, I think, 2019. So there's all these like things that I have to weigh and balance. and I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I'm just kind of talking out loud and telling you what my conundrum is. It's a good problem to have, right? There's all these good, wonderful things that are lined up either way I go. And Brooklyn and the Met can happen later in the year without me having to give up possibly winning and bidding and winning a authentic printed textile from the 12th century, without me giving up the mediation training and the possibility of starting as a mediation volunteer. But how often does the Met and the Brooklyn Museum both say, oh, sure, come on this week, we got openings? Like, I have been trying to get into the Met for a long time. And when I talked to her about the possibility of like maybe doing longer, she explained to me that the Met right now is really only doing like 1 or 2 study days. So that's the longest I'm going to get. And I'm not trying to be greedy. I'm just saying like, this is kind of the best offer I can get. So I don't know. Don't know what I'm going to do. I'm ready to be home, but I am loving these opportunities. And I hope that this video does not come across as me being ungrateful for these opportunities or just thinking like, I know there are so many of you that are watching this that are like, I would die to get into the Met, right? Like, what's wrong with you? You can be a mediator next time they train, right? So, and then the other little small thing to consider is if I stay home, or excuse me, if I stay here, by the time I get home, there is 10 days between me getting home and then Walter leaving for Gulf Wars, which is an event that he participates in, which is a 10 to 11 day event with all the traveling and stuff. So there will be basically 10 days of us getting to see each other, and over the 11 if we count the evening I went home, over the course of 2 months. And that's just rough. And here's the other thing. I know Matt, my ex, has been a single dad, right, for years with Oliver. Walter's also been a single dad for the last 3 weeks. And work is crazy for him, and he's getting up super early in the morning to get Oliver to daycare. And I know what a burden it is, but of course he's extremely supportive and is like, it stinks. It's not convenient for me, but at the same time, it's the Met, it's the Brooklyn Museum. So that's that. That's the update. I'll let you. I told everybody all decisions. I'm not going to linger on this one. All decisions will get made by the end of the day tomorrow, so you guys will have an update. So for now, that's it. I'll fill you in on other goodies, little tidbits tomorrow when I do my week recap. All right. Bye.